All right, here we go. We're live. We're live. We're live. We're live on
It's
YouTube
alive.
and also on LinkedIn. Hoping everything worked out. Just did a Instagram story to let people know that we're here. I've just heard so much weird stuff about Instagram lately.
Like what?
Just in regards to shadow banning is not a new thing, but just how the algorithms really just push one thing versus the other. So we do a lot more of our communication moving forward over YouTube and LinkedIn. Um, Seems to be a little bit easier to talk about what it is you want to talk about, and in long content form. I think with a lot of those other social media platforms, you have to be quick, like Twitter. What do you get, like 140 characters?
Yeah, something like that.
And then Instagram Reels, you get 15 seconds. It's like
Right.
we don't we're in a generation where we don't move that we don't we need context.
We're slow.
We're
We're
slower.
slow. We like to tell you everything about everything
Yeah,
and why we're
I
doing
want to
it.
provide. Yeah, I want to provide
Yeah.
the context, the story behind it.
We don't start a story in the middle, not like everybody else does.
So if you're on Instagram, mainly, you're gonna miss a lot of our lives. So you gotta make sure that you subscribe to us on our YouTube channel at Trella Tech, or follow me on LinkedIn, Asia Atwood. And also sign up for our newsletter. We do quarterly newsletters where we talk about everything that's happened over the quarter. We don't spam you. We don't do a lot of that. So go to Trella.io if you want to sign up for our newsletters. But yeah, we have a lot going on. And what we like to do is really talk about it on these weekly lives instead of doing a lot of, a bunch of posts throughout
Mm.
the week. We decided let's just combine our efforts and talk about what we want to talk about during this live in the context that we like to talk about it in long form, where we can provide a bit more information, a bit more context. But yeah, I know somebody said, I think I called myself old. I think it was you, and you were like, "You're not old." Like, no, we're
No.
not. We're just in a different generation.
Yeah.
Then
We're yeah.
where are we now? I mean,
Well, never mind.
I think I'm like millennial and Gen. I'm on the cusp.
You're on the cusp. Oh, that's
I'm on the
nice.
cusp between like what is it, Gen X, I think,
Yeah. And I Gen X? I'm Gen X, right?
and I think you're gonna be Gen X. I'm on the cusp of Gen X and millennial.
Millennial. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. But
Hmm.
the majority of my friends are their average age is over 50. So I think I'm really more of a Gen Xer.
I think you're more of a Gen Xer too. On the cusp of a baby boomer. Just kidding.
Sometimes.
I know.
Sometimes. Yeah. Listen, I'm
I
happy
know.
being me. It's funny sometimes when I'm at events, people who haven't met me for the first time are getting to know me. And by the way, I thought we should do this, Snuffy, introduce ourselves. I'm Asia, CEO of Trella, and this is Denise
Me,
Snuffy,
Denise. Denise.
another
I'm here.
team member of Trella, also a very
Mhm.
long time good friend of mine, good person, and just fun to hang around with. So uh, we do. Have a mission and a focus on growing what we want to grow, where we want to grow it. But over the past several live sessions that we've been doing, we've been trying to share a bit more about who we are, like who as people, as individuals. Who's running the company, what drives them. So we wanted to take advantage of social media and start doing that a lot more. But yes, in sharing more about myself when I go to some of these events in the past, or even like virtual events that we had in the more recent past. Um, People assume an age on me, which I'm thankful. Some people think I'm a lot younger than I am,
Mhm, mhm,
and
mhm.
they approach me that way, and then I say something, and they go, "Hmm?" You don't know what I'm talking about? No, I don't know what you're talking
No, no idea.
about. I'm
No
not in that
idea.
generation. So yeah, that's always funny when that happens sometimes.
It's good to be surrounded with different generations. So you're still connected to what's really happening, and you still have a nostalgia of what happened before, and see how far we've come. And you're in the middle, and you're like, oh. this isn't too bad. This is great. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah. I mean, I have my younger brother. He's definitely like on the millennial side,
Mm,
um, so he keeps me kind of tapped in to to that generation. But yeah, and then being around kids and stuff, and I have my
yeah.
a son, so you I'm exposed to everything. But I think my preference and who I hang out with usually winds up being more like Gen Xers.
Yeah. Well, we're cool. I mean, sorry.
Yeah, you're blunt, actually. Straight to the point, which I prefer. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it's we're gonna get started soon. We were just uh, chatting it up. We had a break last week.
Good.
We took a break after the federal holiday. I don't, I think I still worked on the fourth. Like it wasn't, it wasn't like a significant holiday for me personally. But it did give, you were away. Where did you went to? You went up
I
north,
went
right?
up. Yeah, I went up to New Hampshire, Lake Winnipesaukee, Wolfboro. My family has time sharing, so that was our week to go up there. And my mom actually found out about this place 40 something years ago when she was a teacher. They had just built it, and they were catering to the teaching community, and saying, "Hey, come on up for you have summers off." So that's how we got it. But it's funny, we're right on the lake. A portion of the property of the it's called the Windrifter Resort, and there's a portion of it right on the lake, and you can see the fireworks
Hmm.
right there, like every Fourth of July. So we were down there, and the fireworks were happening, and they were just like meh. And I turned to my sister, and I'm like, "See, even the fireworks aren't celebrating this year. They are
Even
not
the
happy. They're like, I don't want to do this. What am I excited for? What am I popping and banging for? Like this isn't anything." It was kind of funny. It picked up, but it was like, see, they don't even want to do it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we didn't get to see fireworks. Heard them. Didn't see them this year. And it was like I feel like I don't know where you were in when you were in New Hampshire.
Yeah, yeah.
The day of July 4th, it was very no, it was the Sunday before. It was in the day of. It was very like overcast where I was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it wasn't the best weather. It was kind of like the Tuesday after the weather got really nice.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, so we're back. We're back now.
We're back.
And we're going to be talking about the news in Texas. The news in Texas about their power grid issues and how they're having to request people to reduce their energy consumption. And I think it was 2021. There was some news about the Texas power grid, so we're going to talk about that, um, and also give you some insights from our perspective on how that impacts businesses, cultivation facilities, etc. And then we're also going to start talking about solar panels too, and how that all ties in. So stay around for a few. We only have, I think, maybe like 15 or 20 minutes to touch on this one. So this will be a short live. Next week we're going to have a lot more time, and we'll be able to really get into the nooks and crannies of the issue when it comes to solar panels, which are an incredible resource to help Texas, but there's also some things that people need to consider, and we want to make sure that people are aware of that. So stick around for this session, and then make sure that you come back and subscribe so that you get notifications to come back for next week's session when we're going to dig into it a little bit deeper. But yeah, we're using this live is kind of to catch up a little bit. Um, See how you've been. We had an event. I think it's 11th and the 18th. So the next session will be on the 18th. It's the business of cannabis is an event put on by Women Grow. We'll drop a link to that in the comments after we finish this live, so that anybody who wants to check that out can check that out. Our Trella team member Matt Waddell, he actually appeared in that and was on the panel talking about Trella Technologies and what it is that we do, how we help people to grow what it is, grow whatever they want, where they want to grow it, but with a sustainable, angle to it, making sure that you're doing it efficiently. A lot of people in the cannabis space right now are struggling, especially those that have one, limited access to capital. That's a huge thing. Two, these larger operators are, changing pricing because they need to stay competitive too. So the industry is really in this. It's moved into the competition stage, heavy it seems, and people are going to have to start thinking outside of the box. We feel that we're sensing that we've been working on this technology, Trella Grow LST, to automatically train tall plants to grow horizontally and to reduce energy. We've been working on that since 2016, and I think now more than ever we're starting to see people actually understand why they need to do it, and
Mm-hmm.
why they need to think outside of the box. So it's been great to get more traction and kind of more input and more communication from individuals. So we've connected with you over LinkedIn or an email. Um, we've been talking to companies on all different stages, people who are just starting and just trying to figure out, do they want to get into cultivation, people who already have been doing this and have expanded across multiple states. Everybody is starting to look at this differently, and so we're here to help. But we want to make sure that people understand there's a lot to this sustainability game. So we're going to talk about solar panels, and then we'll jump on to something else, a few weeks later.
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking to my nephew this past week. He's younger, obviously, and he's a millennial, and he's even talking about. He's like, I can't wait to have my own little lot. That he lives in a complex right now, an apartment complex. He's like, I can't wait to grow my own food and just be like self-sustaining. And I'm like, huh. This is actually kind of seeping into the brains of the younger generations of like, okay, we need to make some changes. And he's like, yeah, I can't wait. He's like, I already have it planned out what I want to grow and how he wants to grow it. So I was like, huh, I don't think I was thinking about that at all when I was his age.
Oh no, 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 no! Grow your own food, cook your own food, please. Like,
Okay, yeah, right.
you
Do it
know,
all.
yeah. But yeah, it's. I'm glad to hear stories like that of people who maybe didn't think about it before and are now
Hmm.
getting into it. Um, it's even nice driving around in people's yards or in their outdoor area. You can see little like raised beds and stuff that are
Yeah.
being in little greenhouses that are popping up in people's backyards, because they're starting to think, all right, and probably for several different reasons. I mean, some people may just like growing their own food. They just do it for the love. But I think some people are also starting to do it because they feel like they have to reduce costs and to maintain a level of sovereignty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has there now that we just started talking, maybe we can do this as a live. We can like explore people who are in high-rise buildings. How do we get them to grow their own food? Like, is there places instead of, you know, part of their storage container, like indoor growing like downstairs in their basements or whatever? Do you know what I mean? Instead of a little community garden, which there may not be a plot of land. Maybe we can I'm gonna look into that.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are apartment buildings that really recently constructed apartment buildings that have greenhouses built on top of them, and they
Mm-hmm.
allot a little section for the residents. So you could come up and have your own, plot on the roof. But
Mm-hmm.
obviously, if you've got 7 floors, all those
Right.
residents can't just thrive off of one roof area greenhouse.
Mhm.
So you're gonna
Hmm.
need more space than that. And there are a lot of solutions for growing small things indoors. Like, you could go online and easily find these um, all inclusive little solutions to grow some leafy greens and some microherbs. They have things called lettuce towers,
Oh, yeah.
um,
Mhm.
that do that type of thing, that have lights that you can buy the lights to come with it. And it does really well for, like, leafy greens, herbs, small stuff. But if you're trying to really grow food for a bigger population, or a more diverse variety of food, you have to really start thinking about containers. I think in that type of situation, as
Hmm.
of today,
Interesting.
containers. But there's so much, like the real estate market, the commercial real estate market. There's so many empty warehouses, empty buildings.
Mhm.
These things could be outfitted to be used to grow. And I think there are some people that are already starting that. We have one client who's looking at doing a nonprofit organization in Boston, growing their own, and doing it so that the actual community has some sort of ownership in it. We've been talking to other individuals out in the Midwest that are doing things that are similar. So people are, I think, trying to figure out how do we create co-ops or locally um, controlled entities that are responsible for growing the food for that local community. Yeah, and but you may need to purchase a building or and rehab it and fit it out so that you can grow all this stuff because there's a lot of people packed into a small footprint
Yeah,
in the cities.
true story.
Yeah,
Mm-mm-mm.
but you want to get let's get going on our
Want to talk about
our topic.
Texas?
Let's talk about Texas.
Excuse me. Let's talk about Texas. Let's talk about it. All my exes live in Texas.
Yeah, I in this I watch YouTube. I don't only just put stuff on YouTube, but I watch it a lot too. And one of the people that I subscribe to is a guy called Bo the Fifth Column. I don't know if other people have heard of him. He's got a pretty big subscriber base, and he was talking about what's happening on the Texas grid, and they're basically so as you can recall, was it February 2021? There was the freeze that
Yeah.
happened, and
Mm-hmm.
the state of Texas had some issues where people lost power, things started to freeze, pipes started bursting. People were unfortunately doing unsafe things in their homes to try to keep themselves from freezing. It was a disaster, and it lasted for how long? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but it lasted longer than a day. It
Several
lasted.
days. It was several
Yeah.
days.
Yep.
Um, so now they're having issues again, but this time on the opposite side of the weather spectrum. Now it's the summer. So in the winter they were having issues. Now they're having issues in the summer, and this time it's because the hotter it gets, the more people turn on their air conditioning
Yeah.
and need to stay cool. So the demand on the power grid increases heavy in Texas during this time of the year, and their systems that they currently have are not capable of keeping up with the demand. I think they say they rely a lot on natural gas, and it's not quite making enough energy. So they're asking people to volunteer to conserve energy. So basically saying, can you please stop using energy? This is similar to what was happening out west when we're talking about. It was a couple of lives ago. We were talking about the waterways
Mm-hmm.
in California and Arizona. People are being asked not to farm,
Mm-hmm.
to conserve water. People are being told if they don't.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's all
The
good.
mailman, you know.
Yeah, we're dog friendly here. It's all good. Um, but no, people were being asked to, being told if you don't conserve energy and stop using water out west, we're gonna have to do it for you. So this is just another example of how people are at first being asked politely, "Can you please, back down off of conserving energy?" Uh, but if people don't do it, they may have to do it for them. Um, but it
Yeah,
looks like. Oh, go ahead.
didn't I'll talk. Didn't that gentleman say like, "Hey, this is if you do it, you may not see an interruption in service, but if you don't do it, what did he say? He said even if you do conserve it, you may see an interruption in service anyway if you conserve the
Right,
energy."
because it's just you're one individual. Like if one household says, "All right, I'm going to turn off, I'm going to turn my air conditioning temperature up so that I don't have to run it as much. So I'll be a little bit warmer." Okay, that's one thing I can do. Oh, I have a pool. I'll turn off the pump that runs my pool and circulates the water. All right, that's another thing you can do. But the guy or the woman to the left or the right of you may or may not comply. So if everybody doesn't do it, then you may still experience brownouts. I remember, I mean, this isn't new. People have
No, right.
done, we've had brownouts and blackouts uh, before, so there's nothing new about this. I remember um, in Boston, I went to Northeastern University, and we lived in Roxbury, a mission, yeah, in Roxbury at the time. And in the summer, they would just pull the power on you in that neighborhood, low income neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
This didn't happen when I lived closer to campus. Didn't happen. It only started happening when I moved, you know, outside into Roxbury. But Yeah, you would, it'd be, a full day, no power, just gone because they had to conserve energy and send it elsewhere. So they're asking people to do this in Texas. Um, and one of the things that I think, to show how severe this is, the Bitcoin industry, the crypto, let me not say Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency industry, specifically miners, people that mine cryptocurrency. The most popular one is Bitcoin. People that mine cryptocurrency, they use a lot of energy to run those computations. I don't know um, how familiar you might be, Snuffy, with blockchain and how it works.
Yeah, yeah. You and I have talked about it, and then when we were looking into some things, I didn't realize how much energy cryptocurrency uses, and then you start looking at other almost sustainable, what are they, blockchains that use less energy, and those are the people that you kind of want to invest in more. But it's insane. I didn't realize how much energy cryptocurrency uses.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's basically a bunch of computers all across the world running computations to prove that everything that they all agree, that everybody's in, all the computers are in agreement of what the ledger is for that particular cryptocurrency, and you have to run calculations to do it. And it's kind of by design. Like they for Bitcoin, it's by design. They want it to be hard to run these computations because they don't want somebody else to come in and be able to
Hmm.
like manipulate the system. So all these computers were, a lot of people, a lot of these miners were in China a couple of years ago, and then China put a crackdown on mining
Hmm.
and said we don't want miners on our infrastructure, so you got to get out of here. And Texas was like, come on in, come on in. They were like, we got you, crypto miners, please. So people started building these large facilities in Texas for crypto mining. And but I remember when I heard about this, I went, oh man, Texas's power grid is
Mm,
questionable itself. I hope that people are thinking about some sort of a backup plan, or they're not using it as their primary source of electricity. And that's exactly what they did. They were smart enough to know, all right, we can come to Texas because they're playing nice to us, but we don't really want to rely 100% on their power grid because it has issues. So a lot of the cryptocurrency companies, they have the ability to say, all right, well, we won't use your energy. We'll use our own source.
mhm,
Um, they only use it because they get like a really low discounted rate, so they can get
mm.
energy at really really low prices. So what's bad for them is they have to now go to their expensive option. Um, but yeah, I think they have to volunteer. I wonder if they decided that they did not want to do that, or if financially they're so strapped that they can't do that.
Right.
What then what happens? Do they start browning out and blacking out the residents, the
Yeah.
residential customers in exchange?
Right. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I think it's kind of funny that we use the word reliance, and that's the name of ERCOT. It's the Electric Reliability Council of Texas. Not so reliable. Not so reliable. You may want to rethink that word.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Not
Uh,
not so reliable. And I remember when I was working in property risk engineering, and uh, we deal with all different types of industries. Power is definitely one of them. A lot of the engineers in Texas, a lot of their times were spent oil, natural gas, refinery
yeah.
stations, all that type of stuff. A lot of power, power gen specialists, power gen engineering, and they always kind of had a different approach for anything that was dealt with in Texas, because the gist that I got from what I understand was Texas wanted to keep their sovereignty in regards to um, their own power grid. So they're not, they don't want to be, I guess, regulated federally, and they also don't want to be responsible for sharing power to other states if and when the federal government says we want your power. Um, so they get to do things the way they want to do it. Um, so I think if you're in Texas, um, you probably already understand this game. But for some of us that are in states that um, don't have to deal with this, it's it I don't think this is impossible. As I said, in Massachusetts, I had brownouts during, you know, heavy periods. So this can happen everywhere. It's just that Texas is right now in the limelight because they're so big. What did you say, Denise? They're like the biggest power.
Yeah, I think it's notably America's top energy producing state. Ugh. What I'm going to do is too. I'm going to put a link to the history of ERCOT so everyone knows how it became so independent um, and not really regulated closely by the federal government. And I also put a link to our other article that we're sharing right now. So if people want to take a look at it, take a read.
Yeah, thank you. So no, we said Texas hot and dark because it's it's just July. It's going to be warmer, and as the summer goes on, so we're going to keep our eyes on this situation, just like we're keeping our eyes on the situation out west to see what's happening with Lake Powell and all and
Hmm.
some of those the Hoover Dam and I think it's the Grandview Dam. Those two hydroelectric stations out there that are threatening to shut power off. Um, it's it's really it's really something you have to watch. Like every day, I look for, I see something else. I'm like, there it is again. It's another issue with either power or water. Power or water.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I remember being a kid too, and we were in a low income area too, and they would take care of our. We would have brownouts all the time in the summer, and that was like in the 80s, So they were doing it even back then. So
yeah.
I don't know.
And I mean, for those, I mean, a lot of people work from home
Yeah, yeah,
now. Not like they, when I was in college and when the date you're referencing, people weren't working from home.
no,
So if you work from home and you make the bulk of your money from your own personal residence and they start brownouting and blackouting you, that could be a significant interruption just to for a lot of people. So
right.
if you don't have a backup power source, consider getting one if you really need to rely on it. I mean, growing facilities, cultivation facilities definitely need a backup power supply, especially when you're doing growing indoors, because if you go down and like, for example, like a hydroponics, something that relies on water being filtered and circulated through the root system, pumps, all that type of stuff. If you don't have something that's providing power to those and it shuts down, you have less than 24 hours before your plants start declining in health.
Yeah,
Less than 24 hours.
that's quick.
You don't have that much time. Trust me, I know. We have backup power, but it needs to be at the stage that we're at right now in our R&D lab. We have to manually switch it over. So I have to you get the alarm, you get the notification, and then someone has to go and switch it. As we grow and expand and get more beefy, we won't have to deal with the manual switch. But
Mhm.
that's some people are in that state where they have to manually switch over to something, and some people maybe haven't even thought about it.
Right.
So if you haven't thought about it, think of going out and getting a little gas powered or something generator, or getting some sort of a solar solution. But you really need batteries for that. There are some systems out there that are targeting residential consumers, people that might travel or like to go day camping and stuff, like backpacking,
Hmm.
but nothing that's going to, I think, run your HVAC for your cultivation facility.
Right.
So it does take a little bit more thought. If you need help with that, let us know. We can help you. Um, but yeah, solar panels are definitely an alternative solution. We can go to that next article.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Solar panels bailing out Texas.
Yeah.
There we go.
And what's funny is when the freeze happened last year, people were
Hmm.
like, I saw some like articles and some comments of people poo pooing, oh, what happens to their solar and their wind? I thought that they were saying that their solar and their wind did not help.
Well, when the
Or
wind's not blowing,
or in the winter, I mean, you don't
right?
get as much sun coverage. So no one's saying that one solution
No.
meets all. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make across all industries is they find they think that they get some good results, and they think that's it. I don't want to change. This is as good as it's going to get. Like they're limited in their capacity of what the possibilities are, and they only want to do one thing that they know because they feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But I think what's going to really be required as we move forward into this new world is flexibility and the ability to be able to do a lot of different things and to team up with people so that you can do a lot of different things versus just, keeping it all to yourself. So you need a little bit of solar, you need a little bit of wind. You could do hydroelectric, you could do geothermal. There are a lot
Mm.
of different ways that you can have sustainable, renewable. I'll say renewable energy versus sustainable
Mm.
renewable energy. But solar is definitely one of them. And in the summer, it's when you get the biggest bang for your buck
Mm.
off of solar, especially in Texas.
Yeah.
Especially in Texas. So you get your solar panels, and then you have to have your battery supply because you are probably pulling so much energy in from the sun during these great months that you may not need to use it all, and you don't want to waste it. So you want to store it somehow. So they have battery storage systems that help with this type of thing. All those are critical. The thing I think people might forget, and we're going to talk about this more next week, is that solar panels can also become damaged.
Mm.
Um, and one of the ways that they become damaged is from impacts, like if you step on it. Well, all right, there's not a lot of people running around stepping on solar panels, so that's not the biggest concern. But one of the biggest concerns is impact from things above, like
Mm.
hailstones. Um, and we've been getting hail in places that we haven't typically received hail from over the past few years. But one state that is known for hail and it has been gets hit heavy with hail is Texas. Texas
Huh.
is like when in my property risk engineering days, you would look at any location in Texas as hail damage. Like it's inevitable that you may have a hail that customer, that client will have a hail claim, a hail loss,
Interesting.
because it just happens often, and the size of the hailstones in that region are very big as well. And we'll talk about, we're going to get into all of this again in more detail. I'll show some maps, some hail maps,
Mm.
so that you can see, depending on where you are, not just in Texas, but depending on where you are throughout the U.S. Um, if you're interested in getting solar panels, do you need to be worried about hail? How severe can the hail be? Because that plays a part of it. And what can you do to try to protect yourself from any of the impact? Um, but hail can be an issue for solar panels. They do have some solar panel systems that are rated for hail protection, and we're going to talk about that too next week on what you really should be looking out for. But in Texas, hail is heavy. Then you have along the coast and the water, Galveston, that area
Hmm.
that got hit during Hurricane Ike.
Yeah.
You have wind that can also impact solar panels and cause those things to fly around. So we're going to talk about that next week. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, we need a lot of different solutions because there's going to be so much different things that are getting thrown at us. So um, I'm glad to see that. It sucks that Texas is having this having the the people of Texas have to deal with this. It's definitely not something that I would wish on anybody, because you know how it is when you don't have power.
Oh yeah. It's like a panic almost. It's a panic, especially the unknowing of when it's going to come back on. You
Mm,
know, I
hmm
mean, brownouts are timed and more scheduled and say between this hour and this hour. I get it, scheduled ones, but then there are ones that are just out of the clear blue that happen because there's a strain on the grid. And you just don't know. I remember a couple of years ago, I was out of, and it wasn't a huge storm. It was just a regular storm. I lived in Quincy at the time, and I was out of power for about 10 days, and it was insane.
In
I
Quincy,
yeah, in Quincy. This
wow.
was like maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. And I was just like, I couldn't believe it. Because you prepare basically for the smaller part of it. Like, oh, I'll probably be out of power for like a day or two. So you move everything into a cooler, you keep everything in the fridge. and then I'm like, okay, well, this is a little bit longer. Let me move it to a cooler. And then it's like, then that's just not sustainable. And then now you have to go to a friend's house or someplace else because now you can't survive in the middle of summer or it's 90 degrees.
Yeah,
So, yeah, 10 days. I couldn't believe it.
10 days.
10 days, long time.
That is a really long time. Yeah, and I think you're right. It's not knowing when it's coming back on, and you just forget how much everything we do
Yeah,
is so tied to it.
yeah,
It's like, all right, well, I'll just read a book, but now I like reading Kindles,
yeah.
and I gotta keep my Kindle charged.
Right, right.
So, yeah, it's frustrating, but yeah, so it's upsetting for the people of Texas. Um, I think it's important for those of us that are watching this to learn from it and figure out how to make sure that we don't put ourselves in the same situation, because this is not just a Texas issue. This is an everywhere issue.
Yeah.
There's brownouts and blackouts happening in all countries right now
Hmm.
because of the rise in temperature. So
Didn't
it's
you
just
say someone in Pakistan, somebody that was going to be working or whatever with us?
yeah, but
That
I'm not sure if that's temperature related. That might be infrastructure related. So
I see.
yeah, I can't say for sure, but yeah, I do know that for sure other places are dealing with high temperatures and having to cut down consumption, and unfortunately, the people with the least amount of ends to pay to keep the power on will be the first ones to lose their power.
Sure.
And so if you're no matter where you are, what you're doing, if you have your some sort of a business of any type, um, it's always good to have backup power if you can. Yep. But no, so that's it for us. We're gonna come back next Wednesday.
Yeah.
All right, next
Look forward to it.
Wednesday, noon EST. If you are interested in learning more, like if you're looking into solar panels or looking into any type of renewable energy, please hit us up and let's chat. We'd like to know if we can be of assistance to make sure that you're looking at this from a lot of different angles that maybe some other energy consultants may not look at. We like to work in tandem with people, so we're not saying that only come to us. We're saying go to your people, but come to us too, because we're also going to have a different insight when it comes to risk. Being able to look a few steps ahead and figuring out how can you avoid getting yourself into situations where you don't have access to your equipment, or your equipment's underperforming, or you're wasting a lot of your resources and your capital. So schedule a free consultation with myself. You can go to Trella.io to check that out. Click the link there and schedule all on your own, and we'll be able to chat about it. But other than that, come back next week. We're going to talk more about solar panels and how to make sure that if you're interested in getting them, that you don't just pay all that money for them, that you can
Mm.
keep them and that they work efficiently, regardless of what gets thrown at them. Literally, regardless of what gets thrown at them. So, yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
All right, everyone. Mad peace, mad love. Talk to you later.